Hello, everybody. Edmentum, Illinois. We are with you yet again for another edition of Edmentum, Illinois Presents. And today we are thrilled to have Dr. Kristen Paul with us. She's a former building administrator, but she's currently working for a company called Humanex Ventures. At the same time, she is a professor and is working with brand new teachers. And we are just excited to have her here with us today. Kristen, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing great.
Kristen, I have a question about kind of that duality that you have of being a coach of existing, educators, and then also being a professor, teacher of new ones. In this dynamic educational time, is there a new necessity for teachers? Maybe one like the teacher voice that we all kind of take for granted, but is there a new must-have for all teachers in this post-COVID era?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the things that I've noticed in working with new teachers and teachers that are in the field is this idea of how do we develop our resilience talent? What does that look like? And oftentimes when we think about what resilience is this idea of recognizing that there might be an obstacle, but then how do you work through it to avoid discouragement for yourself and for others? And what does that look like? And what are the things that you need in order to help yourself, in order to help your kids that you're with? And or if you're a leader, how do you develop that resilience in yourself in order to help empower others to do the same? And to me, it's really interesting in conversations with people about what that looks like and recognizing, hey, that's kind of low for me. And I actually don't know how to grow in this area. What ideas do you have in order to help continue to grow and overcome obstacles? And some of it starts with like that positivity mindset. A lot of schools and districts are kind of delving into that happiness advantage and the work that Sean Aker has done. He's a researcher out of Harvard, and how when you create that intentional positive mindset, how that really can help you become more resilient and overcome when things are difficult. But also, how can you utilize the team around you? And with teachers, new teachers, and kind of talking about what that means, coming up with strategies and things that they could be doing before they enter the classroom space, things that they can do to take care of themselves first in order to be present and available to others, but then also, how to work through failure. And it's okay to fail and not have all the answers. And that growth mindset mentality that Carol Dweck has done a lot of research on, and then Joe Bowler later in Stanford with the mathematical mindset, but just continuing to give teachers and or leaders either new things to think about when it comes to resilience, but strategies and things that they can delve in deeper to help grow their resilience talent. I think that's something I'm seeing a lot in working with new teachers and also people currently in the field and wanting to grow in that area.
I love it. And we know it's been a challenging couple of years. It's still very challenging. I've heard actually a lot of superintendents say this year is even harder than last year for many, many different reasons. Do you have any advice or even any specific examples of any leaders that you have seen be able to push through this resilience and not get burnt out?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I've heard the very same thing, even talking to some different leaders today in some different states and saying, again, this year is so hard and, trying to figure out a way forward. And it's really creating this mindset of, I'm not just going to survive, I'm going to thrive. And what does that look like? And it starts with a leader having that intentional decision of, I'm going to thrive for me, and then I'm going to thrive for others so that we can get to that space where we're moving forward and we are acknowledging the present, but we're also moving forward for our reality. And one leader that comes to mind here in Illinois is Jen Cassell. She's a superintendent in Ridgewood School District 234. I love saying their school district number. And she has just done some amazing things in pre-COVID and focusing on competency-based learning, but also career readiness for students and focusing on what skills kids need to be successful for their future. But also she did a really great job over the summer working with her high school principal, Gina, and developing adult SEL and intentional opportunities throughout the year for the staff to be supported and taken care of, but also for the students as well with some advisory and some things that they're doing intentionally during the school day. And I think that's just a really great example of someone who is leading with resilience, but also getting into that thriving that thriving space, but creating a vision that everyone can get excited about and still move forward, but also be supported along the way.
Kristen, thank you. Yeah, my internet connection is a little bit unstable, so I'm hoping that everything that you guys are hearing, everything okay, because my connection is a little bit unstable. Anyway, my last thought or last question, I guess, Kristen, would be, you mentioned Sean Akers' work. You mentioned Carol Dweck with the growth mindset side of things. Any other, whether it's a podcast or a book or a website, anything that you would recommend to leaders out there, as they're kind of thinking about this idea of resiliency, this idea of positivity, this idea of how to convey this sense of being present, but then also thinking about the future?
Oh gosh, well, podcasts and books are like my jam. I really love both. So as far as top podcasts, I'd recommend Brene Brown does a podcast called Daring Greatly. It's fantastic. Not only does she talk about her work, but she also brings in people that can speak to some of the things that we're talking about today. Another leader too is Bob Goff. His podcast is Dream Big, and it's similar to Brene Brown. He was a lawyer, actually, not similar to Brene, but he was a lawyer in his past life, but he's written some books about, again, dream big and go for it. And he brings people on who can tell their story of things that they've kind of realized as far as dreaming. And then as far as books, I'm glad you asked. As you can see, I love to read, and I have a color-coded bookcase that's way extensive. Thank you, Real Simple, for the idea. But I have two books that are right near my computer, and this first one here, Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man by Emmanuel Echo. I think I said his last name correctly. It's a great book, a former NFL player, now speaker, and very honest in the things that we should know, I should know as someone who is white and comes from a certain level of privilege, but also some strategies of things that I could be thinking differently, a lot of things that are challenging my thought process. And as well, this book, Permission to Feel by Mark Brackett. He is out of Yale. He is a leading researcher and professor there. This is that social emotional component that I think is so important that we continue to learn more about. I learn more about, but just this idea of, giving opportunities for people to really talk about how they're feeling and unpacking that, and can be really powerful for leaders that are wanting to delve into either one of those topics.
Kristen, thank you for all those recommendations. If you do not already follow Kristen on Twitter, I highly, strongly recommend it. She puts so many wonderful words out there, things to get us all thinking about how to stay positive, how to really focus on kindness and caring, and really taking care of ourselves, but then also doing so in order to take care of each other. She's Dr. Kristen Paul. Kristen, thank you again so very much for joining us today, and we wish you all the best during the holiday season and throughout the school year. We look forward to staying in touch.
Same to you all. It was so nice to meet you all today. Happy holidays.
Thanks,
Like
Kristen.
all are.